Welcome to the Homefront podcast. I am your host, Toree McQueen. I'm a realtor, an entrepreneur, a mom of four, and a bold dreamer, always on a mission to turn nothing into something. Have you ever wondered how all these other entrepreneurs do it all? Can they actually have a successful and thriving business while also having a happy home life? Here, we dig into the real stories from entrepreneurs on how to run a biz and a home life, how to scale and grow, and how to manage parenting and relationships without sacrificing your home life or happiness. After all, isn't that what matters most? Let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. And this is part 2 of you guys getting to meet my husband, James McQueen. And if you didn't already listen, you should catch back up on episode 8, where we introduce my husband and he starts discussing or answering questions on all things on what he has to deal with as a spouse of an entrepreneur and what it's really like, how we raise our 4 boys and how we're prepping to have this baby girl come into this world. So if you are just tuning in, make sure to go back to episode 8 to begin the interview. And again, we got carried away with our conversation, so we split it up into 2 parts, and this is part 2. So if you're back for part 2 after part 1, I'm so excited you're here, and I hope you get a chance to relate to this. And we will just pick up right back where we left off. And here is James McQueen. So what would you advise to other spouses, or what to expect other spouses if they've got a brain of
like yours?
Yeah. To make
advice.
it, or tips, or who should not?
You have to be able to be. So you have to be able to be flexible. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to give and take constructive criticism. That's important, and not feel like that constructive criticism is an attack, right?
Wait, who are you talking to?
Both, right?
Okay, both parties.
So it's giving and taking for both parties, you and I, because you have to be able to hear and have the hard conversations to make hard decisions, right? Without feeling like it's an attack. So thick skin and knowing that you're not being attacked, but you're working as a team to come up with a hard answer to a hard question, right? To be able to, mutually benefit, or have the family, the home front benefit. So it's being able to listen and give advice both ways, really, is the advice I would give. As a spouse, also if you have a family, right, being flexible, know that you're gonna take on some of the responsibilities of to and from practice, making some food, meeting up at different places, sometimes switching cars on the way home from work, or here and there, but being flexible, really. You got to be flexible, and then thick skin, I think.
Yeah. And that's where we're at. I mean, we're in messy middle phase, right? Where we'll talk about the 5 questions, that I ask everybody else, but majority of it is us. I mean, we do majority of our stuff. We do ask for help. We do, pay for help on the home front and obviously in my business, but a lot of our home front is run by us. Okay. So when we're out with people and outside and taking the kids on the walk, or playing or whatever, or at a game or practice, and people are like, I don't know how you do it all, or how Toree does it all. Like, Toree, how do you do it all? And then people ask me that all the time. You hear it all the time. So maybe you can share internally, what are your thoughts when you hear people say that? What are your initial thoughts?
I don't know either. To be honest, because you are always doing it all the time. That's
really?
That's really what it is. It's all the time, whether it's this social media thing, right? Or this meeting, or this practice, or this, meal, or this event, or this, vacation, or this whatever. It's always something, right? So is always happening all the time. I think it helps that you have a team, right? And we've raised our kids to be flexible, so they understand, we're going to go from here to there, and pack a snack, pack some water, pack this, whatever. And then I do my best to kind of buffer that when I can, but you do it all. So
okay. First of all, I don't feel like I do it all, but what do you think is a attributing factor to how I'm able to do that?
Yeah.
Is it,
so it's building your team, right? Getting people around you that you trust, so that you can delegate this thing and that thing, so that you can have time at the game, at the practice, at the whatever, the event, while your obligations for work and for those aspects are still taken care of. So it's being able to find the right people, put those people around you, delegate, people to do the things that you feel that they're good at doing and that they do well, so that they can cover that slack, so that they can be there for you, while you're really making something else bigger or making something else grow. So it's putting the right people around you, I think.
Okay. And I also talk about, am I a perfectionist?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest. So which is good, because if you're a perfectionist, you would never start anything, because it would never be perfect enough to get it going, right? So at some point you have to pull the trigger. At some point you have to say, this is enough to get this going, and there's going to be some bumps. I'm going to make some mistakes, and then I'll adjust those mistakes as I go. And then, this thing that I'm building will continue to grow. Because if you never start it because you're a perfectionist, because nothing will ever be perfect, then it won't work, right? So are you a perfectionist? Absolutely not. But that allows you to start things and sometimes fail things. That's how you learn, right? You have to start it to be able to learn it. So no.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I try to tell people that's maybe how I do it all, is that I don't try to do it all perfect.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm just going so fast that it's like, okay, if I'm okay with it not being perfect in order to figure things out. And I think that might be a helpful tip too for some people. What do you think mindset has to do with it, or anything? Do you feel like
mindset with what? Like with like being with like trying things, or what?
do you think, I guess, what would your take be on like my mindset, like how I approach things, how I handle things, whether it's with clients or things at home? How am I able to do so many things at one time? Like, do you think mindset has anything to do with it, or attitude, or any?
Yeah, so you have to have a positive attitude, right? If you're going to try to help a bunch of people at the same time, you have to have a positive attitude, and a positive mindset, and an overall goal of this will work out. Because if you're not thinking, positively, then most times, your reality is your mentality, right? So it follows suit. So if you're like, oh, this is going to crash and burn, usually it does, right? So the mindset that you have is always bubbly and happy and positive, and usually things work out that way.
Not every day.
Not well, I mean, we're people, right?
Let's
So
be real.
yeah, exactly. So, but the majority of it, right? So with that mindset, things usually work. I think that's the reason why, you're willing to try so many things, because you're like, I really believe this thing will work, and we'll go and we'll do it, and we'll see what happens.
Now, does it ever exhaust you?
Yes.
Like, speak on that as a spouse.
100%.
The exhaustion from a spouse perspective, at how fast my brain goes. And guys, sometimes he'll like ask me, what are you thinking about? And I look at him like blank, like, does he really want to know what I'm thinking? Because obviously it's 20 things at the same time. But talk about exhaustion, and also, how do you think that me being an entrepreneur and how I am affects our relationship, so that other people who are into it can either relate or, understand like what it's actually like from a spouse's perspective?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it can absolutely be exhausting, because of the flexibility thing, right? Where we can be doing absolutely nothing and then go from 0 to 100 real fast, of like, oh, I got this thing, I got to do this, I got to do this, I'm thinking about that. Here's the thing over here. Oh, also this over here, where I'm just like, what is happening right now? So it is exhausting, for sure. And you just have to be able to go around with that, right? You'd be flexible. So the exhaustion part of it usually is like a sprint to get something done, and once that thing's done, then you get to relax a little bit more. But there's definitely that ebb and flow, right? It changes, everything changes, which can be very exhausting. So
Well, and how do you think that affects our relationship? Me chatting with you about work all the time, and the constant, like I've said with you guys before, balance, is that an actual myth? And I'm like, okay, well, it's really integration with our family. So, when I choose entrepreneurship, he's really choosing entrepreneurship. So like, how does that affect you, would you say, in all realities?
yeah. I think the biggest way it affects me is that, because I have more of the stable profession, you're able to do all the entrepreneurial things without having to worry about the back end as much. As long as you're able to be flexible around my work, which sometimes does need to be flexible, but you being on that kind of sphere of okay, go, 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 thinking of something new. I think sometimes you're like, what? You need to be doing something too. Where I'm over here like, no way. If I'm doing something too and you're doing something, then we're gonna be on like two different planes of the world right now. So I think the biggest part of it is for me to be as grounded as possible so that you can be flying out in orbit, all day long. And then I can kind of pull you back into the grounded area.
Out in orbit.
Yeah. Whether that's like mentally or physically, like, on some other city or whatever. But I think I do my best to be as grounded as possible in most aspects of life to balance out you and your go, go, go kind of mentality and kind of what we're going through at the moment. So,
right.
yeah.
Yep. And as much as I'm go, go, go with
everything.
everything.
With everything. So
Everything. So it's as much as I work hard, I play hard then, you would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. 100%.
I work hard to play hard. I mean, if you
Yeah.
haven't gotten that about me, I will work my tush off and take care of my clients and take care of my agents and work really hard to make sure everything is okay. And it's so I can go on vacation and I can raise almost 5 babies now.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy that side just as much. And that may be different for some entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs, like I said, go hard in their business 95% of the time, and 5% of the time they like to be with their families. And that's perfectly fine. It's just not how we do it. And again, I wanted to really shed light on that so that people can see that, oh wow, like she's constantly working, she's doing this, so successful, blah, or whatever people may think, or come to a, whatever they think. I don't even really know. But it's just like people say that, but they also see that I'm with family. And I think that's why it confuses people.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's because you have 4, soon to be 5, 5, soon to be 6, really, wrenches to throw in all your entrepreneurship, businesses with our 4 kiddos, the one on the way, and then me, because I don't know, I have my own things that I do too, and so you have a lot to work around. I could only imagine the things that you're working on and doing and all that without kiddos. But then you'd be missing out on all of this other stuff that is the most enjoyable things in life, to me at least, and to us. I think the getting to see them grow and fall and learn, and that with sports and with school and with friends and all that time. So it's crazy. And having learned that, those are the most important things for us, our family, the little team that we're growing, helps you decide that, hey, or at least I think that it helps you decide, hey, I'm going to build as much as I can so I can enjoy all of this home front and be as present as possible while still, doing things for you. Because you have to be able to do this for you as well. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun.
What do you think I would be like as a stay-at-home mom?
I can't even imagine that. I can't. So in reality, you're already as good as I think any full-time mom could possibly be while being 100 places at once. So I couldn't imagine of like a full-time you as a mom. That's just
I'm a full-time mom, but like,
yeah, well, like a full-time just at
like where
home.
the other half of my brain would go.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do. I feel like you'd have like a knitting room, and you'd have like a puzzle room, and you'd have to have all these extracurricular things and hobbies. Yeah, which you still do. You still do have, have some of these things. You have like, your hobbies that we do outside of family and work and us and all that stuff. So
I'm not good at gardening. I try it, you guys, and it's not good, but
you tried. That's the thing. So that's the non-perfectionist part, right? Where you're like, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to. And then you do it and you're like, maybe I'll do less of that later.
Or like knitting. Like I learned how to knit on vacation and like a year ago, and I'm still knitting the same blanket. I mean, I get it. Now I'm knitting. Great. I think it's just and it's relaxing.
Yeah. It's just,
but I think my brain does better with the challenges.
You got to be busy. You have to be busy. I feel like it's like that one movie where you have to constantly be moving. Otherwise, like, it's over. So you have to, it's like, well, I have 5 minutes to do. What should I do with these 5 minutes? So I'm going to take up this hobby. So like, it's crazy.
Or create another branch of the business. I mean, that's the fun of it. And that is reality of an entrepreneurial brain. And again, I'm no perfectionist, and the word entrepreneurial or entrepreneur is widely spread now, and that everybody has their own opinions of what that actually is. And I just see it as doing your own thing, running your own business, like creating your own lifestyle on your terms, and that's what we're doing here. But I really wanted to bring him in so you guys can kind of get an idea of, we're not trying to do this whole thing perfect, and it's really, messy and but simple, and it is a lot. But I think knowing that we work well together with a lot, I think
Yeah.
you and I
Yep.
maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. And James is really a huge support system to me doing what I do. Like, some entrepreneurs don't have supportive spouses, that they don't want them talking to them about their business, what's going on. They don't want to hear that. They want to talk about themselves, or they want to hear they want to go do something else, or they have a vacation plan of their own that they want to go on, and they have other things that they want to chase. And I think because James is more happy with being with the family, whatever we're doing, it doesn't really matter. He's more like, hey, where are we going on vacation? Like, where do you want to go? He
Yeah. We're the same
allows
team.
me.
So
Yeah.
you got to be able to do things for you. And I do things for me, and we do things for the family. And that's what keeps us happy. That's what keeps us on the same team. We have, you have to be able to have those moments of you time, of me time, of them time. And that has to be okay without any type of anxieties or anger or angst or any of those weird kind of feelings, towards each other, which we're good at allowing each other to do. So,
Well, and let's talk about anxieties and angst and things like that. Like, obviously, we have 4 boys and a baby girl coming in a month and a half.
mm-hmm.
And it wasn't, I mean, I've evolved as a parent, as have you.
Yeah.
And just as we have as me being an entrepreneur and like choosing the path I've taken. So maybe touch on that. Like, how, if you could chat with someone else saying like, okay, can you be a mom and do all that, and is it easy, or
So
have I ever had anxieties, or
yeah, so I think what makes it seem easy, or what actually does make things easier, is that positive mindset of I'm going to view this as being, I'm going to view this as being like a everyday normal thing, whatever it is, having a new baby, and then just going, okay, as soon as the new baby's here, I'm going to continue to do exactly what I was doing and have them adapt to it, and then not shut down everything, not shut down your world, not shut down, your wants, your likes, your things you still need to do, and stay positive with it, right? So the anxieties I feel like are just the FOMO, really. Is like, I'm doing this thing, you're doing this thing, we made this decision, should we have done something else? But at that point, you look back for like a second, and then you just keep going forward, because there's no real reason to look back, because really you can't change it, right? So it's, as far as anxieties and angst on things, I don't think we have it too much. I mean, it's there, but
But how would you say I've evolved? Like, obviously, I've switched things up. I was with corporate when we had 2 kids, and how did that affect me and our family? Like, making that adjustment, and then going into entrepreneurship, and then branching out on my own, and then
yeah.
all the changes that I go through. What is there a specific process that you think I handle that with, or
Well, so
or
it's
is
all
it different every time? I mean, because sometimes we've had 2 kids, and then we have 3 kids, and then we've got 4, and then I feel like I'm getting better with it over time. And again, I think it goes back to like, well, like, it's not going to be perfect, so like, here we go. But maybe shed light on what to expect there. Like, it's not. I mean, it starts out
at some point
harder. I don't.
Well, at some point we decided that we are going to gear our time and our efforts towards being able to do what we want and have our family, right? So around 2 kiddos is when we were deciding, hey, corporate life wasn't for you because of this 6 a.m. at work, 6 p.m. getting home, and then the resentment of I'm not here with my kiddos enough while they're these little guys, these little babies. So I think around that phase of our lives, there was a decision made that, hey, I'm going to figure out how to do some social media stuff. I'm going to figure out how to do some things to give our family more time to really be together, right? I don't want to be gone from 6 to 6. I don't want to do these things. This is terrible in my eyes. Some people love it or whatever, but for you, that was a no-go, right? So around the second kiddo is where we kind of started having our talks of, hey, let's put some money towards these outside things so that you don't have to do this 9 to 5 kind of, or 6 to 6 really is kind of what it was at the time, job, this thing where I have to clock in and I have to spend time at this building, whether, I'm productive or not. It's just that I have to be here. Once we kind of figured that out, that, hey, this is not for you, and this is a silly thing, with your skills and your mindset, that, okay, what are we going to do next, and how are we going to make that happen? And then just allowing ourselves to make mistakes, and then learning from them. So you've evolved by deciding at around our second kid that the corporate world was not for you. And then ever since then, every decision from there has been an evolution of the next of, let's build some type of way to be able to do it all, to be able to be with everywhere.
Right. And I think, yes. So that goes to, we've evolved, from corporate, but even if it weren't a corporate 6 to 6, I mean, easily in entrepreneurship, you could work 6 to 6. Like that's any given day, 6 to 6, 7 days a week, you could be working all the time. So I think it really comes down to also working together to define our own success and then stay in that lane and be okay with that. Right? Because in entrepreneurship or any 9 to 5 or anytime you're surrounded by anybody who's doing other things in their own way, and, especially when you're following mentors and you're following leaders and you're trying to get better at something, you are always comparing yourself to try to get to the next level. But as you're leveling up, like, okay, how do you do that without losing something else? Or how do you do it in a way that maintains your success? Because really then it's all for nothing, right? So I think also, whether or not it's a 9 to 5 or not, like 6 to 6 could be an easy thing for entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, there was a
and
realization, I think, at some point that you had, where when you're doing your entrepreneurship stuff, the 6 to 6 while you're doing your entrepreneur stuff is all for you, right? It's for you, it's for your team, it's for your goal, versus the 6 to 6 for some huge company that, is,
you're capped out.
You're capped out.
Even if I was, my commit, I could have made like crazy amounts, like uncapped, right? Some of that. But investing in ourselves. But again, I think it comes down to really defining what success means to you and sticking to that, because and like I say, it's really easy on the socials to compare yourself to what other people are doing and what their success looks like. But I think we've gotten really good at being true to, like, well, I don't really care what anyone says about this, because this is what we actually want. And that's our success. And I think that's, what would you say, James? Do you think that's what's kind of given us the leg up now to just kind of like soar?
Yeah, the ability to say and realize that whatever, certain people think of us, it doesn't matter as long as we feel whatever we feel about ourselves, right? Because if you dwell on some other comment or some, something that someone says about you, you dwell on that, the person that said it has already forgot about it, right? But then you're ruining your whole day or your whole time or your whole family or, whatever on this thing. So the ability to just kind of go, all right, this is what's important to me. This is what's important to our family. And I'm going to go for this, no matter, whatever criticism I have or someone has towards me. So,
well, and for me, it's hard because, I read a lot of self-development and things like that. And for me, one of the hardest things is reading Miracle Morning and like, okay, you do these morning routines and then you do that. And they're really big on routines. And for me, yes, I'm really big on routines, but I've got a lot of kiddos and we've got crazy schedules. And sometimes we're coming home at 10 at night from a late flight with family. And sometimes, a kid didn't sleep all the way through the night and we got sick kiddos and you have to take time off work. And, and honestly, guys, I wouldn't have anyone else take that time for me. Like it's not like I would rather have someone else come in and take care of my sick kid. Like I don't mind that. But I struggle with, in entrepreneurship, and I'm sure James feels this, when I'll read a book and I'm like, okay, I have to do it exactly like this book says. Otherwise, I'm not being the best version of myself. And then I'm like, oh, I have to wake up at this time. Yes, my habits can get better, and that's something that I will work on. But do you think I struggle with that, with like goal planning or like doing things like that and then getting back to reality with myself and what I actually enjoy? Do you think I struggle with that?
I think sometimes, which I think happens to all of us, right? So you get on this next kick of this this goal planning thing, or this guru, or this whatever, this book that you read. So you try it, but then ultimately you fall back to what makes me happy, right? What actually works for my family and I, for this home front,
Waking up in the morning
for
and
what we
having my
do.
coffee and feeding my kids breakfast and taking
Yeah,
it slow and getting them to school. Like,
yeah.
is any of that work?
Does that actually make us happy to do it this one structured way? Because there is no one way, right? It changes every day, it evolves every day.
Right.
So
And I'm going to call BS on some of these entrepreneurs that are like, I do it like this. And every time, and maybe they do. And you know what? And maybe they fully enjoy it and they're the ones like that. But to be real, how we do it, how I have that many kids is I don't wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go get my workout in and go do this. And I will get better at doing routines, but things are constantly changing, guys. So for me to do that every single day is not realistic for me right now. And it's not what I choose right now. Could it be something that I choose later? Could it be something that I feel like, oh, you know what? I'm going to implement this small habit to change my life. I'm always looking to do that. But I think sometimes like James probably feels the struggle where I'm like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And he's like, who says?
yeah,
Who says?
who says
Yeah,
that
he
their
always
way is the
asks
right
me,
way? Why
who
does yeah?
says you should be doing that? Hey there, let's take a brief moment to acknowledge our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by eXp Realty, one of the fastest growing real estate companies in the world, cloud-based and built for the future. It empowers realtors to scale in their businesses and lives beyond what a typical local transaction could. This is the company I personally hang my real estate license with, along with my entire team. If you're a broker owner or a realtor like me and want to join in on the fun or interested in learning more about this awesome company, click the link in the show notes or go to my website at toreemcqueen.com/partnerinrealestate. That's toreemcqueen.com/partnerinrealestate. Let's get back to the show.
Well,
Do you even want to do that?
yeah, and that's what's good about it is you get this information, but you take the pieces that work for you, and I think that's what's important. Instead of trying to change everything to evolve to that, I think we've come to a point where it's good to learn, it's good to look into the ways other people do things, but then you take those fractions, those pieces of what works for you, and you take those and run with it, versus trying to solely turn into this one way, because that just isn't real for us, right? We'll take the pieces that work and we'll go with it from there, and then we evolve it into something new, right? That works for us. So
And then with each kid, it changes. And with
Mhm.
each age they get older, it changes. So again, going back to what he says, like our life is a constant change. And
Yeah.
I think that us being happy with that change and ever evolving and constantly moving and reshaping and redefining our own success is important. I think we do that quite frequently.
Yeah.
And
It's just adaptability, right? I think that's the biggest thing that we try to teach our kids is to
not take life too
not take it
seriously.
too serious, and then adapt to what you have. Because if you teach them to do one way, one thing all the time, and if we do one thing one way all the time, and it doesn't show them that they can be successful when that one thing turns to something different, then they're going to have deer in the headlights of like, oh, but this changed. How do I do anything now? So it's, adaptability. Adapting and overcoming I think is the biggest thing that we do, and that what we teach, and it shows. I think our kiddos are learning. They're super smart, and they have their challenges every day, and they adapt to them just like we do. So we show that, and they follow it.
Right. Well, and I'll ask this one more question until we get to our 5, and then we'll just go for our 5.
Okay.
How would you say that I handle? Do you think I'm honest with myself about what I actually want? Like, do you think, because I feel like you have to really be in tune with and be honest with yourself with what you actually want.
So our family keeps us going, right? And we've already kind of decided that the Homefront does. So everything else that we do is always changing, and it's towards the goal of the family doing well, the kids doing well, us doing well for the family.
So I guess me being honest with myself is always going back to my why.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I want it, like, for instance, if I want to grow this part of my business and I start that and I get going on it and I'm working on it 6 months and we have to reflect, like, sometimes it's like, wait, why? What's the purpose
It's
of
remembering
this?
that why, yeah. When we get down, or when we forget kind of why we were heading in a certain direction, it's why were we heading in this certain direction? Oh, yeah, okay. So now is this thing that I'm worried about important or not? Maybe not. or
Or
maybe it
is it
is. So
important? Yeah.
yeah, is this thing still important to me? No. Okay. And then that's when we branch off, and then we have the pros and cons, like we said earlier, of the, the emotional highs, the emotional lows, the beginnings, the endings. And okay, let's end this thing and let's begin this new thing, because this thing that we were just working so hard on is no longer important to us anymore. So let's go this other route.
So how often would you say you're a part of that decision making?
All the time, whether
Okay,
whether
see?
you whether you realize it or not, because I hear about all these things all the time, right?
So
So
again, it really goes back to like how I decide to go on my journey is really just keeping the home front in mind. Like that is our success. So again, like you guys know, I believe success starts in the home and ends in the home. So decisions that I make for my business that might not be the same that you would want to make, or other entrepreneurs at that. And some may be, make billions more dollars than me, right? Which again, it to us, it's not about the billions of dollars. It's about success in the home front and like what our life is like. So make sure you guys, when you guys are following people and doing that and going on your path, like just know everybody does it differently. But I wanted to bring him on here to share with you guys like a little bit of insight of what he deals with when he's got a wife that's a little bit crazy, that likes to, go, 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 and always, problem solve and get things done. And there's never not a problem that I want to go figure out. So glad he could be here. Let's get to our 5 questions here, the last rapid fire questions, because this is wrapping up towards the end of our season. And I've been asking other people these questions. So I figured I'd shed some light on our current scenario here at the end of 2021, what it looks like. And again, this will probably change as we adjust. We've had to make decisions to get more help or not more help, but let's dive into these questions. And James, you can answer these.
all right.
Okay. So throughout my journey, daycare, nanny, or none?
All of them.
Okay,
At
explain
different.
that.
So
Explain that.
so it
How do we do that? Because everyone's like,
yeah.
wait, do they go to daycare? Do they not go to daycare? Have they?
So because we adapt and things change, and something works for us at some point, and then some things don't work at other points, or we decide to go a different route. We have people that we know for like nanny situations, babysitter situations for when we need them. We have daycare sometimes for our personal sanity. Sometimes it's so that we can kind of get away and go to a lunch or whatever, or for specific work things,
Like to keep our schedules a little bit like it's mostly for me to batch, guys. So like we never really did daycare, but every now and then again our seasons call for that. So what he means by that is right now we do daycare for our littlest two.
Yeah.
2 days a week. So just those 2 days, they go in to daycare full time right now, so that those are days that James typically has to go to work. And then those are days that I don't have to rely on him. I can make sure that those 2 days are fully open for me to get my batch work done, whether that's batching and editing podcast content or any kind of social media content or any trainings for agents, the things that I can batch all in one day and get done. Those 2 days help for, and they stay a constant. So we just did that beginning of last quarter, not too long, like 6 months ago. We started that, but again, like James says, like we are constantly changing. If it's not working for us, then we adjust from there. And then our different babysitters for like,
you got to find like somebody
dates.
solid, somebody solid that you trust and that you go to, and then you keep that that card handy whenever you need them, and then you take care of them. So
for like dates or like one-on-ones, if we're taking, we want to take our 2 older boys
out to the arcade or to whatever,
to a game or something, but we want the younger boys to have time together. We like to take one-on-ones and two and twos and do it differently, but we haven't always had, it's mostly been us.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for us, is that we want the majority of the teaching to happen from us and not some outside source. But it is important to have a little bit of away time while they get to learn a little bit of how to adapt around a new person, a new situation. So it's good to have a little bit of that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we do now. And again, as the kids were younger, I mean, as we have this new baby, we haven't even officially decided what we want to do, but most likely with babies, we keep them home.
Yeah, we try to keep them
We
home
keep them
usually
home
for like the first year.
2 years.
Yeah, year
Yeah.
and a half to, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. So
Okay, so who does our house cleaning, laundry, cooking, grocery shopping?
all of us. So it just depends. That's the flexibility part. So sometimes I'll do it on the way home. Sometimes you'll do it on the way home. Sometimes we do it as a family as far as like grocery shopping.
Sometimes we order it,
Sometimes we order out. Yeah.
which is
Cause
amazing.
yeah, because
And
we don't
they,
want the mess of dishes. Laundry, we've been doing good at
we're like
teaching the
grocery
boys.
shopping.
Yeah, and oh yeah, and so cooking, we'll do it sometimes together. Our boys have interest in learning how to cook, so you take the time to teach them, and then some mornings we wake up and our 9-year-old is making us omelets, which is awesome. So laundry,
It's messy, guys, but
yeah, it's messy,
he's
but
not as good as cleaning up the mess. But
yeah, but but that's how you learn, right? And adapt. So laundry, we all hate laundry. I'll put it in the washer and in the dryer, and then after that I hate it, but we all work on that together too. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's like, all right, family laundry here, kiddos, you guys get the towels and whatever. So it's just the adapt. There's no real standard of like Tuesdays are laundry day, something like that. So it's always changing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we have our house cleaner come. We started doing that every other week. So our deep cleaning stuff and mopping of the floors and the baseboards and our light fixtures and fans and blinds and toilets, stuff that can be deep cleaned. And usually that's when we have all of our sheets go in the wash, and like there's a routine there. So she comes every other week to do that. There's that. I wish I could have someone do my laundry every day. That would be great, but unfortunately I don't want someone in my house every day. Like I just don't want someone in my space. And I would say James folds a lot of it. Well, you know what? Again, we've had an interesting year.
Yeah,
so he's been home more. So
without walking, I'm fixtured
without walking,
to,
he's
to
minimal.
the couch and things like that. So if you throw laundry by me and I'm watching football, like I don't mind folding it. Right?
He's doing the laundry. That's about what he can do. Cooking, I'd say I do a lot. I do majority of it.
Yeah.
He does some of it, and then our kids participate in some. They're really resourceful and they make themselves lunch too sometimes. And we eat out quite a bit.
Yeah,
I would say
we
can cool it on that. But before COVID, we ate out probably more because we enjoyed actually dining out.
Yes.
For us, it's fun because for me, I don't have a mess. Someone's serving me and I get to actually sit down across from my husband and my kids and chat with them about the day and have someone serve all of us, and I get to physically be present. And I think that is what I enjoy most about eating out. And for us, it works.
Yeah. And for us, eating out is actually fun because our kids are more cultured in their palates. So it's not just only hot dogs and fries or something like that.
There's
like
pros and cons, guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So like our oldest 9-year-old, he loves sushi. So if we ever ask to go out, he wants to go to sushi, which that comes with a cost.
A hefty cost. So it's, people are like, oh, your kids like sushi. And I'm like, yeah, hold off. Yeah. Like, it's not as cool as you guys think. Yeah. But I mean, they like Thai food. They like sushi. They like pho. They like
everything,
American food, like Middle Eastern. Like, I mean, they eat all kinds. And so it does. And they behave pretty well in restaurants. For us, it's kind of just something to do. Like, hey, let's all go out. And then mom's not in the kitchen trying to figure stuff out or, having to serve everyone. And then after dinner, having to clean everything. Like I get really busy. James is really busy. So it does allow us that hour to actually sit down at a table, look across from each other, color if we want, and engage. And I think that is a pro of eating out that we like.
And that's it. And it holds true with what we like to do anyways, which when we do eat, we schedule out, a little bit of time of whenever we make dinner, we are eating at the table. So for home eating, we eat together at the table or at the, at our counter or whatever, all that kind of stuff, but we're together. So it holds true with what we like to do anyways of, when we're eating out, we're still together. Just without any mess that we
hanging out and talking about the day. Yeah. Okay. So number 3, private school, public school, homeschool, thoughts on it. And again, guys, this has been an interesting 2 years.
I think the idea is that we would like them. We were both in public school, right? So the idea would be that keep them in a public school where they can have a bunch of kids to play with, a bunch of people to learn from and kind of go that way. This year, however, we went to a public school so that they can have a little bit more focus, smaller classrooms, things like that, and to get away
Little more
from
stability
yeah,
too, because we got pretty fortunate they could continue on with school with COVID because the class sizes were so small and they can follow up with the guidelines. So
don't have to worry about
it
hybrid
was
stuff or online things.
online school. Yeah, it was pretty constant and pretty stable.
Mhm.
So right now we've been doing that the past couple years and it's been good for us. And the little ones go there also. So it does help for all of them to be in the same. But eventually, yes, I like the idea of public school because
Yeah.
I think it exposes them to
more.
more of what they're going to be exposed to in the world while they're getting a solid foundation from us at home. So
Yep.
4, what are your spouse's roles at home or your roles? And we kind of just went over this, but
Yeah, it's everything.
we share.
We share. It's you adapt, and what if I'm tired of something one day, then Tori will pick it up, and if she's tired of something, then I notice that, or I try to, and then and then I pick that up. So
Yep. Same with rides and
yeah.
practices, and
we just adjust.
take turns. Like we're pretty 50-50 on the home front. I mean, yeah.
It just depends.
Yeah. Okay. And again, it's just taking initiative. So like if one of us is just like, oh man, like I did that last summer, or just we could tell the other one's tired, if we see it, we handle it. And then of course, like, oh, I forgot to mention we hire like lawn maintenance, things like that. Like yeah. What is your best piece of advice this is the last question. What is your best piece of advice for parents trying to run and scale a business without sacrificing their life with their families?
I would say don't forget your why, right? Because you're trying to scale a business for a reason. What is that reason? And if it is your kids, then don't sacrifice your kids to try to do something for your kids, right? Because then you're kind of defeating the purpose. So if your reason is something different, don't sacrifice that for it, So I would just say it's remembering your why when you get frustrated, when you get down. And we kind of have those talks from time to time of why are we doing this? What's the goal? What's the plan?
Well, it does come with, you mentioned sacrifice. I think it does come with some sacrifice.
Yes,
so like,
yeah.
what would you explain that sometimes I sacrifice? Because you say don't sacrifice your kids, but I do have to make sacrifices sometimes. So like, where do you think that plays out?
I think it depends on your mindset. So you sacrifice stability, right? Of being able to schedule from this time to this time we'll do this, and this time to this time that. But what comes with that are the bonuses of learning to adapt and things like that. So there's always give and take. And once you realize that there is going to be some give and take, there is going to be some heartache, there is going to be some learning, there will be hard days. Then once you're able to get some of those nice days and those easy days and those coast days, then you can be where you're at. But just realizing that it isn't all happy, it isn't all easy. Most of it's not easy, really. But if you're doing it for a reason and you keep revisiting that and you're still on track with that initial reason, then I think you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys.
Yeah.
Straight from the spouse's
husband.
mouth. The husband.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we kind of, I think we covered quite a bit. I mean, questions. You guys will have to let me know how you guys like these shows. Like if you guys want to hear more from my husband, if you don't want to hear more from him, shush him up.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I think, in starting this podcast, like the whole point was to let people know that everybody does it differently. And we are just another family that wants to grow our family and have fun while doing it, while, me being that crazy entrepreneur that wants to do her thing also. We'll scale our own mountains and do that. It doesn't need to be defined a certain way. And I think it's fun to have him here so you guys can shed some light as to what he deals with. Yeah. And I learned a little bit today also on what he deals with. And it is constantly changing. So if you guys want to hear more or have specific questions, we'd love to share. And again, as you join our friends club, if you guys had any interest in that, we plan to do a little bit more webcast videos or audios dealing with what we're actually dealing with on the home front or in the background of scaling the business, and more of our pain points and what we struggle with there. And in the moment, what we're going through, whether it's hiring new people or getting rid of people, or in that moment, what we're dealing with a new baby and doing everything there and not getting childcare for the babies and, all of the stuff that we deal with while also running a business. we'll be sharing some of that too there. So if you guys did enjoy the show, let me know, rate, review, leave us messages so I can know whether or not you guys enjoy this good stuff. So, or it adds any value to what you guys are trying to accomplish. Because at the end of the day, that's all I want, is for you guys to feel like you can do it too. And it's simple, not easy, right? So everyone wonders, well, why can't I do that? No, you totally can. But you just have to know, like, you just do it your way. It may not be the same way I do it. So anyways, with that being said, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Oh yeah. Thanks for being here, James McQueen. You've been great. You've been shut me up for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. See you later, guys.
Hey guys, thanks again for joining me on another episode of the Homefront podcast, where happiness is our true profit. If you enjoyed today's chat, please take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. This helps us learn, grow, and reach more listeners just like you. Join me again next week as we drop new stories, experiences, and game-changing tips for your home front. As always, here empowering you in business and in life. Until next time.